sweet joys of whiskey. That's right. Alcohol. It's destroying our families, our jobs, and our homes. She's right. Hang on, men. Don't let them get to you. This saloon is our safe space where our wives and children can't annoy us with reality, where we're free to be real men. Right. He's right. I am. And what does it real men do? Take care of their families.
I don't know what she's talking about. Do you take care of your family?
No. We drink beer, we shoot guns, and we mud wrestle! As America's heavy drinking ruined more and more lives, moral resistance began to arise, and women were at the forefront, taking matters into their own hands. But a time when women doing just about anything was shocking. That had enough of being victim to their husband's heavy drinking, and they were going to do something unprecedented.
What are you streaming?
So what? I'm going to protest. Oh, sweetie. Women can't protest.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Starting in Ohio, before spreading nationwide, women
You're good.
began a crusade against alcohol. They marched through towns and cities, singing hymns, gathering outside saloons,
You're good,
and
dude.
praying on their knees. Women praying was so terrifying that in some towns, schools were shut and business stagnated. On one occasion, firemen were called out to hose down the dangerous
Plus,
praying
honestly,
women.
dude,
On another, the owner of a beer garden
I had
reportedly hold a
to, I had to
camera
manually
outside
go
and
into
threaten
the
to
settings
release the
of the
savage
game
women.
and edit something to get my PC to run this due to how big of a mod pack is. Or else my PC just like no, just says it just commits suicide. It's gonna take 8 years for it to even start up.
School children that contain some interesting claims about drinking alcohol. Here's little Timmy. Uh-oh. Looks like Timmy's gonna have his first drink. He's taking a small sip of whiskey, and Timmy has spontaneously combusted. The end. The woman's efforts weren't in vain. In small towns across America, drugstores agreed to stop fulfilling prescriptions for alcohol. Men committed themselves to giving up drink. Inspired by the woman's moral fervor, some saloon owners closed their doors. The Women's Crusade and other temperance movements were forcing people to reconsider alcohol's role in society, and more people began to side with the
What's wrong with my
temperance
screen?
movement.
Oh,
Many states
yeah,
had
yeah.
even begun enacting their own dry laws that restricted the sale and use of alcohol. One of them was Kansas, where alcohol had been outlawed since 1881. Despite this, many illegal saloons remained open, and authorities had done just about nothing to stop them. One woman, disgusted by what she saw, decided she would take the law into her own hands. And not just any woman, a terrifying, hatchet-wielding, sweet old lady named Carrie Nation. Armed with her trusty hatchet and a bag of what she called smashers, she traveled from town to town visiting saloons. But she wasn't there to get smashed. She was there to smash. The men could do nothing but cower as sweet little Carrie hulked out and tore the place to shreds. She went to Kiowa and smashy smashed. Wichita, smashy smash. Topeka, smashy smash. On a couple of occasions, she was arrested, but each time they were like, okay, Carrie, we're gonna let you go so long as you promise to be a good girl and not smash up any more saloons, okay? Screw you, pig!
We're doing hardcore because I just died.
Smash, smash. Carrie's tactics shocked the other members of the Women's Christian Temperance Union.
We
but she
shall
assured them, and this is important,
survive.
ladies, you do not know how much joy you will have until you smash, smash, smash. Carrie became a household
We can get
name,
diamonds
and she
from
hoped her unusual
mustard.
tactics would spread across the country.
Do you know what Scramble Craft is, by the way?
Many of the women's movements eventually slowed down. Why? Well, because of this kind of thing. Thelma, I ripped my pants again. Ugh, well, you'll have to sew them yourself because I'm going out protesting. What? I don't know how to sew. What if I burn the house down and get eaten by alligators? What? Don't be stupid, Mitch. Look, I've got to go. Call me stupid? She's the one who's stupid. Hey, Thelma! Look who's stupid now! See, while the women were out protesting, there was nobody to do the cooking and cleaning and being seen.
Basically all recipes are scrambled.
Their duties at home. But where the woman had got the ball rolling, a new movement was about to take that ball all the way to Washington, D.C. I'm talking about the Anti-Saloon League. The Anti-Saloon League was a political pressure group run by a very sweet-looking old man. But don't let that deceive you. This guy was an evil genius. While the women's movements were interested in a whole range of issues, Wayne Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League only cared about enemy number one, Mr. Alcohol. And as a result, they were extremely effective. They were able to exploit the fears of the American people. And I mean everyone's fears. Here's how they did it. Hello, sir. Welcome to the Liberal Progressive Rally. Why don't you introduce yourself? Well, I'm Patty, and I'm an immigrant from Ireland. And tell me, Patty, do you drink? Oh yes, I drink a lot. See, folks, people like Patty come here looking for a better life, only to end up drunk in the gutter. Don't worry, sir. We're gonna help you. Hey man, you're doing great. I just need you for one more thing.
Maybe.
Hey, Christian
I could,
conservatives.
but
This is Patty. He's a dirty Catholic Irish immigrant.
we gotta get to
who's come
1,000
destroy
subs on
America
YouTube
with
first.
his
I'd
alcohol-fueled
rather
debauchery.
actually have a purpose for it instead of just doing custom. Sadly,
Workers
you know.
were told alcohol was a capitalist ploy to keep them subjugated. Factory owners were told alcohol was making their irresponsible workers lazy. The black community was warned alcohol was hindering its progress, while racists were warned alcohol would turn black men into brutes. In one of the most confusing eras of American politics, totally opposing groups found themselves agreeing on
Why
at least
there-
one thing. Alcohol.
Why? I need to
The
find
anti-Semitic
creep
also had great
planks like
use of
now.
propaganda, something prohibitionists have been doing for decades. Take this specimen, for example, that warns what will happen to you if you start drinking. Let's see. First you take a drink, you get a little rowdy, okay. You make some new friends, nice. Then you become homeless. You turn to crime, and... But the most effective tactic Wheeler used to force prohibition on America was pressure politics. In any election he could, Wheeler very successfully rounded up support against any politician who was in favor of alcohol. In Ohio alone, he had 70 state representatives and the popular Republican governor ousted from office and replaced with prohibitionists. Suddenly, every politician in America was afraid of Wayne Wheeler. Even those who enjoyed alcohol in private began pretending to be against it in public. Alcohol is delicious. Malicious. Sorry, Wayne. I'm really drunk right now. Then it really hit the fan in 1917, when America found itself fighting in the First World War against Germany. Anti-German sentiment exploded. Sauerkraut became Liberty Cabbage. German measles became Liberty Measles. And Dachshunds became the embodiment of evil. See, America? You've always been this way. The biggest brewers in America were German, and Wheeler saw to it that drinking alcohol became akin to pro-German treason. The German brewers desperately tried to fight back, creating their own...
No, you can't just start raining cats and dogs.
One that you could eat.
Matt, hey!
As you can imagine, it didn't go down well.
Oh.
Instituted some temporary war
It's legit!
Save grain for food, and with many
What?
now in support of prohibition, all that was left.
This is legit raining
One problem was
animals!
that taxes on alcohol made up nearly 40% of the U.S. government's annual revenue, and the government wasn't just about to give that up. No problem. The Anti-Saloon League helped lobby for the creation of a new income tax on the American people, and just like that, the government was no longer reliant on alcohol. Prohibition was finally introduced to Congress in 1913, not just as a law, but a constitutional amendment. In 1917, as the House had the final vote on the Prohibition Amendment, Wheeler was watching from the gallery.
1K on TikTok. I don't think, because like I've checked the creator code thing, I don't think it lets you get
Bowing down
TikTok.
to Ned Flanders up there. Look at him, like he's some kind of Caesar. Ugh, don't be so dramatic. I obviously don't think I'm Caesar. Now release the lion. In the end, Prohibition passed the House easily, 282 votes to 128, and the states ratified the new amendment by 1919.
See,
America,
whoa.
a nation obsessed with liberty and freedom, had just voluntarily given up its private right to choose whether or not to drink alcohol. We did it, folks. We fixed everything. America will be perfect forever. But you just dissolved America's 5th largest industry and lost tens of thousands of jobs for us immigrants. No, you idiot. You don't get it. We helped you, idiot. Ugh, I could really go for a beer.
Yeah, who does that?
Immediately after Prohibition went into effect, alcohol consumption in America decreased as Americans followed the law.
Oh yeah, we
and
can make
tried
a
not
door.
drinking. Man, if we're gonna be law-abiding good boys, we need something else to fill the dark, lonely void that delicious beer once did. Well, how about we crack open a nice cold can of water? Hell yeah! Toss it over.
A grilled cheese. Yep, an
Nah,
enchanted
This isn't doing it for me.
grilled
Let's
cheese.
try knitting.
Bah! Beans on
This isn't
toast.
filling the dark
Okay.
void at all. Wanna fly some kites? Ah, screw it. Let's go get some illegal beer. While it seemed like many Americans supported Prohibition, after the law went into effect, it seemed like just as many Americans intended to keep on drinking, and they would go on to find a variety of ways to break the new law. Here's a question for you. Do you like breaking the law? Well, shame on you. Or do you like saving money when you shop online? Then you should use Honey. Do you ever shop in store? Of course not. Then you'd have to talk to real-life people. Yuck.
Okay,
You'd
I'm
rather
sorry.
shop online in the comfort of darkness
You do a harder
than
damage. I don't like that.
And better yet, you can save money when you shop online with Honey. Honey is a free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically tests them when you're checking out. Look at me. I'm buying a
We
baby of a
got a
smartwatch to increase
vibe.
my chances of getting a girlfriend. And look, this magic dancing coin man has a promo code for me. Holy heckin' balls! I just saved $18.75. Watch
How do
out,
I get
ladies.
mustard seeds?
And guess what? Those of you who've already installed Honey using my link have found over $247,000 in savings. So what are the rest of you waiting for, you big dumb stinky idiots? It's free and can be easily peasily installed in 2 clicks. So get Honey for free today by going to joinhoney.com/oversimplified. That's joinhoney.com/oversimplified. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you. Now where were we? Oh yeah, punching Patty, passing prohibition, and procuring pints. Pretty soon after the new law went into effect, the failures of prohibition were already beginning to rear their ugly heads. For starters,
So get this.
the new prohibition law, written by none other than Wayne Wheeler himself, turned out to be more draconian than expected. Many prohibition supporters only wanted
in order to make sand, right?
The Volstead Act outlawed anything over 0.5%.
Sand.
Liberty cabbage illegal. Secondly, the new law was full of
Sand and gravel. The sand and gravel
For
mixing.
example, while the sale
I need an ICBM nuclear missile and an explosive ICBM launcher thingy. So, you know, if I want some sand.
Of alcohol that saw them through the entire prohibition period.
That's not that
For
much.
medicinal purposes was also allowed, and doctors basically became bartenders. It looked as though a full-on epidemic had broken out, as there was a sudden surge in prescriptions for whiskey. Sacramental wines used by churches and synagogues were also permitted. Orders for communion wine suspiciously skyrocketed by millions of gallons. And as rabbis had access to religious wine, suddenly everyone was becoming a rabbi. You had Rabbi Pat O'Leary, Rabbi LL Cool J, Rabbi Fluffy. But don't worry, I'm sure all these definitely legitimate religious figures couldn't possibly be selling wine in the back alley after mass. Yep, definitely nothing strange going on here. New products also hit the shelves in stores, such as Vine Glow, a brick of dehydrated grape juice, itself not alcoholic, and therefore perfectly legal. But the packaging did contain a strangely specific warning. After dissolving the brick in a gallon of water, do not place the liquid in a jug in the cupboard for 20 days, because then it would turn into wine. I'll take 1,000. Yes,
I've unlocked a couple
Now,
recipes,
point,
like I
want
already
you to think back
tried.
for me, if you will, to the year 2005.
Paperback
You're the
one.
coolest kid around, and you convince your parents to rent the greatest movie of all time from your local Blockbuster. But the movie starts with a strange message, something about not downloading a car. You immediately disregard that and hop on Kazaa to download the greatest song of all time, and in the process, drain your dad's bank account with copious amounts of ransomware. You were breaking the law, you bad boy or girl, but did anyone come to arrest you? No. That's my point. If no one's enforcing a law, while everyone's breaking it, is it really a law? And so it was with Prohibition. See, the conservative-led governments of the decade were also the kind of people who believed in small government spending. So they'd passed a law that would be extremely difficult to enforce, but also didn't want to spend any of the money required to enforce it. The newly created Bureau of Prohibition only had 1,500 agents to cover the entire country. That's one agent for every 70,666 Americans in a massive country with 12,000 miles of coastline and one gigantic land border with Canada. Good luck, schmuckos. And all these clever little loopholes people were using to score illegal booze were only just the beginning. America was about to devolve into alcohol-fueled criminal chaos. By outlawing it, Prohibition had made alcohol a precious commodity, and millions of Americans would become outlaws as they found a variety of ways to score illegal booze. For example, many Americans began making their own liquor. Illegal stills from making moonshine were found by Prohibition agents from the hills of Kentucky and the caves of Arizona to parking lots in major cities, and even in the homes of Prohibition-supporting politicians. Oh, come on now, fellas. I voted for Prohibition. I'm not gonna have an illegal still. What's this? That's my son, Freddy. Say hi, Freddy. Sir, this is obviously an illegal still. How dare you? Hey, what's this in the bathtub? That's bath water. Why does it taste like alcohol? Here's a better question. Why are you tasting my bathwater? Weirdo. Come on, Freddy. Let's get away from these perverts. To discourage moonshining, the government began adding extra toxins to many of the products moonshiners were using, which resulted in many cases of severe illness and death. But alcohol wasn't just being made at home. Along America's vast coastlines, rum runners smuggled alcohol into the country by sea. A floating supermarket known as Rum Row extended along the East Coast, just beyond America's maritime.
Jelly beans! Let's go.
Sailed out in small boats to pick up shipments of booze. These bootleggers could then be found selling their illegal products everywhere, even in the halls of Congress. Wow. One day, I want to work here. Well, son, if you work hard and never give up, one day even you could be a massive hypocrite. Even President Harding was known to serve his cabinet bootlegged whiskey, and some bootleggers were so successful, they became bazillionaires. such as Roy Olmsted, an ex-cop who became one of the biggest employers in the Seattle area from smuggling booze. Unfortunately, all of his whiskey came from Canada. Yuck. All of this criminality was only made possible by copious amounts of corruption. Armies of government officials were persuaded to turn a blind eye. Bootleggers became so rich, it was no problem to stuff a couple $1,000s into the front pocket of the police chief, or the mayor, or their disapproving mother. And some cops were getting almost as rich as the bootleggers. Alright men, everyone gather in. I've received word that one of you has been taking bribes from bootleggers. Any ideas who? Kevin, perhaps. Got any thoughts? No, sir. Many police officers came from the same communities that drank a lot, and they weren't about to arrest their own granddads for knocking back some homemade gin. But all this isn't to say there was no enforcement. Plenty of government officials were doing their best to enforce the new laws, and some unlucky individuals received very harsh penalties, such as a Michigan mother who was sentenced to life in prison for small-scale moonshining. Cases like these were widely reported in the media, and only served to make prohibition even more unpopular. But not just that, the media also loved to cover the exploits of the most famous bootleggers, turning them into national icons. One of the biggest bootleggers was a man named George Remus. Originally a lawyer, he watched as his bootlegger clients paid off enormous fines like it was nothing and proclaimed bootlegging's the business for me. But unlike most bootleggers, Remus had big brain, and he came up with a pretty clever system. See, there were millions of gallons of liquor produced before Prohibition that were sitting in distillery warehouses, and it could only be sold with government permission to drug companies. So Remus set up his own drug company and bought all the liquor. Then he set up his own transport company to transport the liquor. And then he would send his own men out with drones to intercept his own transport vehicles. And this would, hey man, this is a stick up. No, please don't hurt me. I hesitate to shoot. Please, I have a wife and kids. Hand over all the whiskey, Fatty. Hey, Fatty isn't in the script, you jerk! After stealing all the whiskey from himself, he could then sell it for big bucks. The perfect crime. Unfortunately, Remus was eventually caught by a goody two-shoes prohibition director in Indiana who wouldn't take Remus's bribes, and the government found Remus guilty of violating the Volstead Act 3,000 times. For 2 years, as Remus sat in prison, his wife promised to take care of all of his money. And by take care of his money, she meant have an affair with a prohibition agent, sell off everything Remus owned, and file for divorce. When Remus finally got out and found his big fancy mansion empty with his wife gone, he reportedly broke down in tears. A few months later, during their divorce trial, he spotted his wife in a car in Cincinnati. Remus hopped in a cab and asked the driver to run her off the road. The driver was like, okay. Then Remus got out of the cab and shot his wife dead. He immediately handed himself into the police, and his next trial, this time for murder, became a national sensation. Remus defended himself, claiming insanity, occasionally carrying out skillful questioning, occasionally crying in the corner. But the nation felt bad for him. His wife had screwed him over, and so when after just 19 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned and declared him not guilty, the court erupted into celebration. And just to remind you, this guy bluntly admitted to murdering his wife. The American justice system. Mwah. As alcohol poured into the nation, a lot of it was going to a new type of drinking establishment that had been booming in popularity, a secret drinking establishment. So secret that from the outside they often looked like ordinary shops or homes. So secret that you usually needed a password to get in. So secret that everybody knew about them. Speakeasies. And once you were in, the party went all night long. Scantily clad flappers, snake ladies, jazz. It was a roaring time to be alive. Some publications even posted reviews of these illegal clubs, and bribes galore kept the party going. It seemed like half the police officers and federal agents in cities like New York were receiving kickbacks from speakeasy owners. Hey! What the
No, what was I supposed to do?
Taking bribes? Why am I not surprised? Prohibition Director Simmons? For shame.
No.
Mom? What would Dad say? Ask him yourself. Dad would say, quit being such a wet blanket and let Daddy earn his tips. Anytime a speakeasy was shut down by authorities, it seemed like 3 more would just pop up elsewhere. And some neighborhoods were so criminal that one resident began hanging a sign to try to keep partygoers from constantly knocking on her door. It really seemed like the new laws regarding alcohol, in some places, were simply being ignored. And one prohibition agent who traveled the country liked to see which city was the most defiant by timing how long it took for him to be offered a beer after he arrived. His winner? New Orleans, where a cab driver offered him a drink after just 35 seconds. Bravo! Many voices in Congress were already speaking out against prohibition and its failures. To display how ridiculous the whole thing was, one Republican congressman gathered the media to all come and watch him drink a homemade beer. When he asked a passing police officer if he'd like to arrest him, the officer said no. Hey Wayne, is all this what you had in mind? I thought we were gonna make the country better, but it almost seems like it's worse. What do you mean? Alcohol consumption is down. Well, that may be true in your small town world, but it says here drinking in some areas is up, as are arrests for public intoxication, drunk driving, and incidents of liver cirrhosis. The general chaos has turned America into a nation of criminals with no respect for the law, and all these attempts at enforcement are just costing the economy valuable money and eating up judicial time and resources. Release the lines. The social change and corruption that Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League had been so eager to prevent, in the cities at least, was surging. See, when something's legal, you can usually regulate and control it, but make that thing illegal, and often anything, becomes fair game. Legal drinking age, gone. Mandatory closing hours for clubs and bars, gone. Other unspoken socio-cultural rules surrounding alcohol, gone, gone, gone. In speakeasies, different genders and ethnicities were beginning to mingle in a way they hadn't done before. The Roaring Twenties saw a monumental shift in culture, not least of all because now men and women could flirt in public without being damned for eternity.
It's a mod pack where every recipe is scrambled, and there's also a lot of mods.
Legislation put in place in New York.
I'm doing it in hardcore mode, and I have no idea how to play it.
Violations, and judges began letting everyone off with light fines, so the judges could get back to dealing with things that actually mattered. You know, things like murder. And there was plenty of murder, because bootleggers and moonshiners were one thing, but Prohibition had given another kind of criminal an opportunity to make a fortune. Mobsters and gangsters. Hey, Fat Tony, big news. Hey, Fat Joey, what's up? I just got word from Fat Louie here that the government's outlawing alcohol. You know what that means. That means we're gonna be rich! Quick, call Fat Polly and let's go hijack a liquor truck now. All right. Hang on, let me tell my wife first. Hey, Fat Susan! No pizza for Fat Joey tonight, capiche? Stop calling me Fat Susan! Come on! Rival gangs began to battle in America's cities, raiding each other's transports, assassinating rivals, and trying to take control of their city's illicit booze trade. Every city had its top dog. Detroit had the Purple Gang. New England had Charles King Solomon.
Look at
but
that.
No city was as infamous for gang violence and murder as Chicago. The city had multiple gang factions, and at first, they agreed to stay in their own neighborhoods. But the thing about criminals is that they're criminals, and the agreements inevitably broke down. One day, the leader of the Italian Southside gang was walking along the street when this happened. And he was like, you know, I think I'm done with this, and left for New York, leaving his crime empire to his chief enforcer, none other than Al Capone. Having been knifed in the face in his younger years, Capone earned himself the name Scarface. Although interestingly, he hated that nickname and preferred to be called Snorky. Snorky was ruthless, just like any other gang leader in America. But what set him apart from others, the reason he's become synonymous with 1920s gang warfare, is this. Most other gang leaders would try to keep a low profile because, you know, they're killing and murdering and stuff. But Capone lived for the fame and kept an extremely high public profile, frequently speaking with the media about his exploits.
Yeah, I know, right? Fire aspect nugget.
Providing Chicago with good times. No need to thank me, fellas. I just provide the city with a valuable commodity while doing away with the competition. You mean you murder people? Whoa, who said anything about murder? I just, you know, force my rivals underground. When you do the thing with the hands, it seems like you're talking about murder. Whoa, look at you with the brains. No, I just help people retire from life. So murder. Whoa! Al Snorky Capone was somewhat of an enigma, brutal in how he dealt with enemies, but in front of the camera, he was all smiles. One day, he'd be ordering hit after hit. The next, he'd be signing autographs in Wrigley Field. One day, he'd be bludgeoning members of his own gang with a baseball bat for conspiring against him. The next, he'd be playing Santa at a nearby parochial school. And no murder could ever be traced back to him. Just like every other criminal, he stuffed the pockets of city officials with cold, hard cash. And any who did try to oppose him sometimes found themselves being thrown down the steps of City Hall in broad daylight. Problem solved. The public couldn't get enough of Capone. He quickly became a household name as people romanticized the gang life he lived. And this became a source of...
I got Frostwalker! I got a Frostwalker chili dog.
What is it now, Miles? I'm busy. Well, it's just that there's a lot of crime, sir. Crime? How long's that been happening? Well, since the dawn of man, sir. What? Would you like me to blame it on the Democrats again? No, Miles, I want you to blame it on squirrels. Yes, the Democrats! Now stop wasting my time! Since having a crime lord controlling public officials and winning the hearts of the people probably wasn't a good thing, Hoover personally ordered that something be done about this Capone fellow. But before he knew it, President Hoover was also dealing with another major problem. You know him. You love him. Woman. The Prohibition era had been going on for nearly a decade, and anyone with a brain could see that it really wasn't going very well. One person with a brain was Pauline Sabin, an extremely influential and rich woman who served on the Republican National Committee, fundraised for Republican presidents, and had a secret wine room in her giant mansion. She initially supported Prohibition, but was now disgusted at the chaos it had created, and she began a new women's movement, this time not for Prohibition, but against it. Being the extremely influential woman she was, her new organization gained nearly 1.5 million members within 2 years, 5 times that of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. She hated that the WCTU claimed to speak for all women, and she began calling for the repeal of the 18th Amendment. President Hoover, I helped fund your campaign, and now I want you to end prohibition. Miles, what is it I say when I'm not going to do anything? You'll look into it, sir. Oh yeah, that's right. Pauline? I'll look into it. Sabin gave speeches on the steps of Congress and helped start a growing push among the American people against prohibition. But Hoover, a prohibitionist himself, wasn't perfect. Then, on the 14th of February 1929, something happened that shocked the nation. Men, thought to be working for Al Capone, tricked some Irish mobsters into meeting them at a garage in Chicago, thinking they were there to purchase hijacked whiskey. Instead, the mobsters were lined up against the wall by men dressed as police, and they were shot. The Valentine's Day Massacre had people outraged. It was cruel and almost felt like American mobsters had finally crossed a line. People were sick of the violence, and in part, they blamed Prohibition for helping to create it. The pressure on Hoover to do something was steadily increasing. Fine. Miles, I want you to put a report together to see if this whole thing is working. You know, the thing where mobsters are becoming increasingly powerful, destroying the streets and homeless, disregarding the law, and half our politicians are corrupt and taking bribes? That thing? Yeah, I want to know.
Okay, that does do hard to damage.
I'm wasting my time. Hoover continued to drag his feet on Prohibition, but after the Valentine's Day Massacre, he was still determined to do one thing. He wanted Al Capone in prison. Since Capone had been so careful, the FBI were having a hard time charging him with anything, but eventually, they got him. Capone, we know you're supplying Chicago with alcohol and you've been involved in countless murders. Whoa, look at you with the crazy talk. I ain't done none of that stuff. But you're rich, right? You're damn right I am. And so where'd all the money come from, Capone? All right, I'll let you in on a little secret, but you gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay? I don't pay my taxes. For all of his murdering, the IRS finally got Capone on tax evasion. At his trial, he didn't seem too concerned though, and spent most of his time having fun with his lawyers. Hey Capone, I gotta know, why are you so confident you're gonna win here? Well, Your Honor, because I'm an honest man with a big heart who's passionate about working for the good of the people. And also because I threatened the entire jury's families. Luckily, at the last minute, the judge replaced the entire jury pool with a new one that Capone's men hadn't yet got to, and Capone was found guilty. He was sentenced to a
Hey, what up,
the harshest
Zap?
penalty ever given to a tax evasion. But even with Capone locked away, the violence in Chicago and other cities continued. And in response, the movement against Prohibition continued to grow.
What we doing, bro?
After a decade of booming economic growth under 3 Republican presidents, the stock market plummeted, and America was thrown into the grips of the Great Depression. It was an awful time. 1 out of every 5 workers, 15 million people, would lose their jobs. Half the nation's banks failed. Temporary shantytowns were built for the broken homeless in public parks. Suddenly, very few people had time to care about prohibition. Expensive enforcement of an unenforceable law didn't seem like that big of a priority when people were having their homes repossessed and losing their life savings. And many began to argue that repealing prohibition would create vital jobs and tax revenue for the government. Yet President Hoover doubled down. Here's that report you asked for, sir. Gimme. Prohibition is great. Fantastic news. Sir, it says here prohibition is great at undermining the rule of law in America. Miles, it says the word great. That means good. Now stop wasting my time! The public, increasingly shocked at the violence they saw in the streets, the corruption they saw in the government, the general disregard for the law, and now an economic calamity, had enough. For his re-election, Hoover faced a Democratic candidate who promised to finally do something about prohibition, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Crowds cheered as FDR made his campaign speeches promising to modify the Volstead Act, and Pauline Sabin, a lifelong Republican, along with her 1.5 million supporters, endorsed Roosevelt. And on Election Day, it was a landslide. Before FDR had even taken office, Republicans in Congress began the process of passing the 21st Amendment to repeal prohibition. One of FDR's first acts as president was to pass the Beer Permit Act, which made beer legal while the new amendment was being ratified. In 1933, with the passage of the 21st Amendment, prohibition was finally over.
Thank you for helping
people celebrated like they'd just won a world war. Bars and taverns were packed. The WCTU were inconsolable. Wayne Wheeler was dead. And the celebration, particularly in America's cities, was intense. Heading into the mid-1930s, the effects of Prohibition were clear to see. From now on, culture around drinking had changed, with men and women drinking together, not in saloons, but in bars and taverns. The crime syndicates that had been given so much power through Prohibition remained powerful as they moved on to other things. Some states opted to remain dry, with Oklahoma only repealing its prohibition laws in 1959. To this day, there are still counties in America with some form of prohibition. So what did we learn today, kids? What's the big lesson here? What's the moral of this story that we can all take away and apply to our day-to-day lives? Maybe that you shouldn't force your own morals on others who don't share them? Maybe that if you tell Americans not to do something, that's the one thing they'll definitely do. Or maybe there is no lesson. Maybe we're all just a bunch of dumb, stinky idiots, and we're all doomed. The end.
We put away all of our useful stuff in here.
This video was made possible by NordVPN. Click on the link in the description below to get an amazing 68% off a 2-year plan. Also, commemorating the weirdest romance in history. Get your new character pins and Russian Revolution merch available now. Link down below. Hey Jimmy, it's the 1800s, an exciting time to be alive. Why don't you get out and explore the world? Gee whiz, Mom. Thanks.
You know, we don't have to fight.
Amazing. Where am I? Why, you're in France, my boy. Here we come up with wacky new ways of running a country. Liberty, equality, fraternity. Whoa, welcome to the United Kingdom. Here we invented the train. Oh, aboard! Holy smokes! You're in a German factory, my friend. Here we harness fire and coal to create all these sexy lederhosen. This is incredible. I can't wait to see where I'll end up next. Where am I? You're in Russia. Have I gone back in time? No, this is just how it is. Are you a farmer? Worse. Technically, my landlord owns me, which makes me a serf. I'm scared. You should be, because I haven't eaten in 4 days, and you look pretty tasty. Hey, Jimmy, how are your travels? I hate you! Russia in the 19th century, feudal, underdeveloped, and stuck in the past. While the rest of Europe had been modernizing and improving their citizens' lives, Russia's rulers were taking a different approach. My lord, we're falling behind the rest of Europe. It's time to industrialize, give the people rights, and share your power. Russian czars had no time for pathetic ideas like liberty and modernization because they were too busy having the time of their lives. While the serfs were breaking their backs in the fields, the czars held all the power, and they didn't have to listen to anyone. Want to run the country like a backwards feudal kingdom while the rest of Europe outpaces you militarily and economically? Go right ahead. Want to keep the people uneducated so they don't get any ideas? There's no one to stop you. Want to keep exporting grain even when there's a massive famine causing hundreds of thousands to die? That is your God-given right. While all of this was great for the Tsar, if you were literally anybody else, it probably sucked because Russia was falling behind. If they were to keep up with Europe, they'd need a strong ruler with some big ideas. Oh look, here comes one now. Hey everyone, it's me, Tsar Alexander II, and I've got some big
I'm actually
news.
doing well.
I'm releasing you all from your serfdom. You're all free. Yeah, I'm the best. Oh, there is one thing though. I spoke to your local lords and they weren't happy about losing all their free labor. So as a compromise, you're all gonna have to pay them back a near impossible amount of money for the next 49 years. Expect your lives to barely change. Okay, bye. Now I know what you're thinking. This Tsar Alexander II seems like a pretty cool guy. He's trying to reform the country and get Russia on the right path. Everyone must love this guy, right? Wrong. Why does one man get to decide the fate of everyone in the country? This whole system is dumb. Somebody should do something. Like what? Like kill the Tsar. You're gonna kill the Tsar? Well, me? No. I'm busy. I was kinda hoping you'd do it. Okay. See? The people love me. They're throwing flowers, confetti, and high-grade explosives. Okay, Nicholas, your grandfather has a mild case of being blown up by a terrorist, and he's not looking too hot. So we're gonna go say our goodbyes, okay? No, it'll be too scary for him. Nonsense, it won't be scary at all. We're just gonna say a quick goodbye. Ready?
Boy, look at me.
The people did this to me. And one day, they'll do it to you! See? Wasn't scary at all. So Alexander II was dead, but luckily, they had another Alexander lying around.
There's like a...
Alexander
Ooh,
the Third, he felt
shoot
his dad's
lighting.
reforms had weakened the Tsar's authority. Russia was massive, and as a result, had many ethnic minorities. Non-Russians, more interested in their own cultural heritage than in loving me? Isn't it great? So much beautiful culture and diversity in our great nation. Alexander thought all these minorities should be a little more Russian, and thereby loyal to him. So he repressed religious minorities. He repressed non-Russians. He introduced the Okhrana, a secret police force that repressed anybody who thought having a czar was dumb. If Alexander II was the great reformer, Alexander III was the great repressor. Now that's how you run a country. Hey, Dad? Ugh, great. It's my son Nicholas, who I like to call a girly girl because he's so weak and pathetic. When are you gonna grow up? You still look like a girly girl to me.
Right,
but Dad, I grew a beard. Yeah, an ugly girly girl beard. If Nicholas was to one day be czar, he needed his dad to teach him how to run the country. But his dad instead suggested that Nicholas go somewhere else. So Nicholas went to Japan, got an edgy dragon tattoo, had his head sliced off by a policeman, and then came home. Now will you teach me how to rule? I suppose it's time. Okay, there's a lot you need to know before becoming czar. Uh-oh. What? I've got kidney inflammation. Oh no! Upon his father's death, a totally unprepared Nicholas II ascended to the Russian throne. He wasn't a reformer like his grandfather, nor was he a repressor like his dad. Nicholas was Nicholas. Timid, easily swayed, and more interested in doing whatever the hell this is. Or this. Or this. He wasn't ready to rule, and he himself admitted it, saying, "I'm not yet ready to be czar. I know nothing of the business of ruling." Bit of an awkward time to bring it up. However, Nicholas firmly believed that he was chosen by God to be Russia's big daddy. And while he doubted his ability to rule, he was going to give it his best shot. And hey, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't be so bad after all. To get things off to a good start, Nicholas promised free pretzels and beer to a huge crowd in Moscow to celebrate his coronation, so enticing a proposition to starving peasants that the ensuing stampede left nearly 1,500 people dead. What the
Yeah, I know. We get obsidian nuggets.
With the French at 8 o'clock.
Alright,
Shouldn't I
speaking.
stay here out of respect for the people? When have Russian czars ever respected the people? Nicholas's decision to go party with the French immediately tarnished his image. Some were calling him Nicholas the Bloody. The czars had been partying hard at the expense of the people for long enough. They'd emancipated the serfs, but failed to lift them out of poverty. They used their secret police to crack down on anyone who might criticize them, and they'd failed to modernize and give the people rights, something the rest of Europe had begun doing over a century ago. The rule of the czars was quickly becoming outdated, and more Russians began wondering if there was a better way. For many, the solution was simple. Just look to the West. Republics, democracies, and constitutional monarchies galore. But a small growing group rejected that for an even better idea. A little something they called communism. Take Vladimir Lenin, an intelligent member of Russia's middle class, and also a massive ill-tempered jerk. If you disagreed with him about anything, he wasn't afraid to call you out. You fat-headed, simple-minded, vapid, cockeyed imbecile! Tenderheart Bear is a far superior Care Bear to Bedtime Bear. And he was no stranger to political unrest either. His older brother was executed for plotting to kill the Tsar, and Lenin himself was expelled from university for participating in a student protest. But how did Lenin go from being a middle-class nerd to the arbiter of socialist divinity? Well, to tell that story, we first need to go back a few decades to when a man named Karl Marx wrote a manifesto explaining how capitalism is a system whereby the stinky bourgeoisie oppressed and exploited the working masses, and that only through class warfare could the workers rise up and instate a communist utopia. Now go back forward a few decades to Lenin reading that manifesto and loving it. But publicly admitting you loved Marx and not Russia's big daddy would get you the cruelest punishment imaginable. Exile to Siberia. Enjoy exile, where you'll live with your wife, chill around town, and secretly write socialist newspapers. Hey, that doesn't sound so bad. And your mother-in-law is going to live with you. No! Once Lenin finished his stint in Siberia, he left Russia for Europe, where he was free to hang out with other Russian Marxists and talk about how great communism was.
We're just
Now
vibing
today,
here.
You might hear the word communism and think of this. But that's not how intellectuals living under a tough czarist regime saw it. To them, communism promised a land where all were equal, where workers weren't exploited, and even people like you could get a girlfriend. So Lenin joined a party of Russian communists living in Europe, and he founded a communist newsletter that was smuggled into Russia to try to radicalize. However, not everyone in the Socialist Party agreed with Lenin. In fact, they disagreed with him on a lot of issues, and Lenin was was so uncompromising that he caused a split in the party. During one conference, a heated debate broke out, and Lenin was unwilling to give an inch.
You pig-ignorant, half-witted, fatuous morons! Cereal is a soup!
Listen, Lenin, you're a smart guy, but you have no idea what you're talking about. We're out of here. All in
It's
favor
funny.
of cereal being a soup? Hey, would you look at that? We're in the majority. So Lenin set up his own faction within the party he called the majority, or Bolshevik if you're speaking Russian. And the other faction became known as the minority, or Menshevik. And oddly, the majority were often in the minority, and the minority in the majority. The Mensheviks were less radical, whereas Lenin wanted the Bolsheviks to be loyal to him and his uncompromising ideas. And if you weren't loyal, well then you're gonna get a big brain beatdown. Mensheviks worried that Lenin's attitude could lead to a one-man dictatorship. But come on, does this guy look like a dictator to you? For now, Lenin remained in Europe, writing his socialist newspaper and impatiently awaiting an opportunity to overthrow the Tsar and bring communist utopia to Russia. Cool. A free hat. Who the heck are you? I'm definitely not a Russian secret police officer spying on Marxists. Oh crap, I don't want secret police watching me. Then you, my friend, should use NordVPN. Do you like having your identity stolen? If yes, you need therapy. If no, you need NordVPN. NordVPN has thousands of super fast servers in 62 countries that you can connect to keep you and your data secure when using the web. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and is now faster and more secure than ever with its brand new NordLynx technology. Have you quarantine binged all of your favorite shows on Netflix? Well, with NordVPN, you can watch the Australian version. Or is one of the greatest videos on YouTube still banned in your country? I think you get the point. You can now get NordVPN with 68% off a 2-year plan for only $371 per month, plus 1 month free. So click on nordvpn.com/oversimplified in the description below and get protected now. That's nordvpn.com/oversimplified. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So muchos arigatos, mon petit pois. Now where was I? Oh yeah, a timid, easily swayed czar, a massive ill-tempered jerk, impatiently awaiting a communist revolution. And revolution was coming, but not in the way Lenin thought.
No.
Back in St. Petersburg, one of the Tsar's most skilled and influential advisors knew the country finally needed to catch up with the rest of Europe. Hey Nick, we really got to industrialize, get more factories, and make some, I don't know, textiles or something. Won't that change the social fabric of Russia? Maybe. Hey, isn't it past your bedtime? But I haven't had my milk and snuggles yet. Will you snuggle me? Nicholas thought modernization was boring, but he let Sergei do his thing. And do his thing he did. He borrowed some money and got some sexy factories. And you know what sexy factories means? Sexy workers. Dirt. Sexy workers.
I had everything. I had a sword. I had weapons.
Sleep in overcrowded
I had
dormitories with
armor.
stinky worker friends.
Why do I get greedy?
A freak Russian doll accident. Conditions
I had
were terrible. But this growing
everything.
working class wasn't about to take it lying down. They started to do what workers do best. Strike. Despite Sergei's efforts, people in Russia still weren't happy. Peasants were still poor, liberals still wanted to and now the workers want a better working
No.
conditions.
How am I gonna find
Everyone's
sticks
unhappy. There's
again?
only one person to blame.
How does one find
The people hate me.
sticks?
What do I do? Ooh, I know. Why don't we find a weak and pathetic nation to go to war with? We'll win easily, and everyone will love me again. Why don't we just try treating the people better? As luck would have it, an opportunity for war was forming in the Far East. Russia wanted to expand its sphere of influence into northern China, and coincidentally, so did Japan. But Japan didn't really want war, so they proposed an idea to reduce the tension. Hey man, we'll let you do your thing in Manchuria if you let us do our thing in Korea. I don't think so. We've got the largest army in the world. What do you have? I'm the Emperor of Japan. I have a giant mecha suit. Whoa. Cool. Nicholas and the boys didn't see Japan as a threat, so they felt they could push Japan around. But little did they know Japan had been rapidly militarizing, and when they launched a surprise attack on a Russian fleet at Port Arthur, everyone was shocked. Nicholas hoped it was an opportunity to win a quick war and regain the support of the people. Nobody seriously thought a puny Asian country could defeat a European superpower, and the Russian people were filled with patriotic spunk. Hey everyone, we're at war with Japan! Hey everyone, we're losing the war. The Japanese won, an embarrassing defeat for Tsar Nicholas. Russia had enough problems, but now it had been internationally humiliated. The public were outraged. Unrest increased. Nicholas needed snuggles now more than ever. The tension was rising rapidly, and Russia was on the verge of revolution. All it needed was one disaster to push it over the edge. And that disaster would come in January 1905 from an unlikely source, a handsome Orthodox priest named Father Gapon. Father Gapon was leading workers and their families to the Winter Palace, but this wasn't some violent uprising. It was a peaceful protest. They wanted to deliver a petition to Nicholas, which simply asked for more freedom and better working conditions. The protest was actually so peaceful and respectful that the Marxists thought it was a big waste of time. Hey Nicholas, some priest is leading a peaceful protest. Says here they want to give you a petition. A peaceful petitioning priest? I better get out of here. Nicholas had actually left the Winter Palace days earlier, and in his place, they brought in a truckload of troops, ordered to stop Father Gapon from reaching the palace. Hello, good sir, and long live the Tsar. Please, allow me to pass this simple petition to our dear father, Nicholas II. Good day to you too. Please, allow us to respond by opening fire. What began as a peaceful protest ended in tragedy. Imperial soldiers opened fire on the crowd. Around 200 civilians died, 800 more were wounded. All they wanted was the opportunity to ask Nicholas to improve their lives. Instead, they were met with bullets. Nicholas didn't personally order the troops to fire, but as an autocrat, he got the blame. The event became known as Bloody Sunday, and Nicholas's reputation plummeted. Strikes erupted across the empire. Workers' demands increased. Liberals demanded political power. Peasants demanded land. The country was out of control, and the 1905 revolution had begun. Listen, Nicholas, peasants seizing my land and murdering my family I can tolerate, but illegally chopping my wood, that's obscene. And the worse I treat my workers, the more they strike. I don't get it.
Still
Everyone
playing
relax.
Scramble Craft?
As long as the military is still on my
Still
side,
playing
there's
Scramble
nothing to
Craft?
worry about. Sir, the sailors are
I
starting
had
to leave.
armor,
But my life
a
just
17
sucks.
attack damage
With Russia
sword.
still in the Japanese, unrest was
Think,
growing in the
reset every
military,
time you
and
die?
some sailors had even taken
No,
to
I'm
killing
hard.
officers. Having the people against you was bad enough, but if the military...
Even if I didn't, like,
it would
dude,
be
I
game
opened a
over. To make
chance
matters
cube
worse,
and it just
in
started
October,
suffocating
workers and
me.
Marxists, including one Leon Trotsky,
There's no
began
way
setting
out.
up
I
local
paused the
elected
game
councils
to, like,
called Soviets
to try to
that
figure out if there
coordinated
was a way
strikes
out,
and
but nope.
supplied the workers. Sergei
Oh, I
could see
feel
the
that so
writing on the
hard.
wall. Things were going south fast, and he needed a big idea to save the Tsar. And luckily, he had just that. You see, all these angry people from different parts of society
Oh,
weren't
Tony,
really
watch
working
this. Mustard
together,
seeds?
meaning there was a weakness to exploit. Sergei wrote a manifesto
ever
that
find
would
a
get the liberals
actual
an
crafting
elected
table,
assembly
that'd
called the
actually be
Duma.
helpful.
It took some convincing, but eventually,
Diamonds.
Nicholas agreed to share power and have his laws approved by an elected assembly.
Ah, that's
of
so
the liberals.
useful.
Here's your
Illuminati
stupid
pet.
manifesto. Happy
Yeah,
now?
Illuminati
We
pet.
certainly are.
Well,
But what
at
about
least I
these
hope
guys?
you get a
Aren't you
no,
gonna
just
give
give me
them
a
what they
crafting
want?
table.
Oh, goodness no.
You can make
I
crafting
was just gonna
tables.
kill them with the
You
liberals
craft
satisfied,
planks and
and after ending
crafting
the war with
tables. Those are
Japan,
the only
the Tsar
two
brought thousands of
non-randomized
troops who then
recipes.
dismantled the
So why don't you
Soviets,
get crafting
arrested their
tables?
leaders,
Because or
and
else the
crushed
crafting
peasant
recipe
uprisings in the
could,
countryside.
because if they
And
don't
how
do
about
that, then the
pesky
crafting
parliament
recipe could
Nicholas
be
had
something you
agreed
need a
to share
crafting
power
table
with?
for,
Well, he then
and then
wrote
you
a
have to
bunch of
find
new
a
laws,
preset
basically
crafting
said,
table
"Hey, remember that
to be able to
manifesto?
craft a
How you
crafting
guys were
table.
gonna
Try
approve my
taking
laws?
engage.
Mhm.
Wait,
Slight
I have
change
a
of plan.
question.
Actually, I'm gonna do whatever the hell
Oh,
I
Oh,
want,
you
and
do
you guys
have
are gonna
these
shut up.
things.
Corn makes a
The
blueberry
people won't
smoothie.
stand for this.
This-
People.
Yeah, you do have that. You can make a lot
What
of make
people?
sticks and stuff.
You know, this is why people don't like you. And just like
Cheesecake.
that, Nicholas had survived the 1905 revolution.
Oh yeah, you
But
gotta
wait,
eat those
a
cheesecakes.
revolution? In Russia?
Give me some.
Where was Lenin? Well, Lenin and his communist pals were still in exile. He tried desperately to radicalize the uprising, but all he could do was watch. As the movements failed to organize, the liberals sold out the poor, and the Tsar
Oh,
outplayed the
see,
people. Furious, he believed Russia had missed a great chance for a real revolution. From now on, he felt the only way left was an armed revolution by the workers. Watching the events
So
of
even sticks
1905
are hard to
unfold,
make?
Lenin learned a lot. The Tsar, however, would prove
Well,
to
what
have
if you try to
learned
make a
nothing.
chest? Have you tried that one yet?
After the 1905 revolution had failed, the Tsar's new
probably
top man
should then.
was Pyotr Stolypin, and he had big ideas to prevent
This
any
does
more
nothing.
chaos. Step 1, reform agriculture. This'll make the peasants
Cheesecake
love you.
projectile
Step
protection
2,
3.
we'll kill anyone who doesn't. To discourage any more revolutionary
hands?
ideas, Stolypin began to
Oh,
crack
good are
down
they?
even harder on the Tsar's opponents, and thousands were sentenced to death. The noose even earned itself a new nickname, Stolypin's necktie. I don't get it. Oh, I see. Because it goes around my neck. That's so funny. But despite the oppression, many positive reforms were also being made, and the Russian economy even began to improve. This was a problem for Lenin. If the people weren't suffering, then they wouldn't support a revolution. Still in exile and lacking funds,
have a
the
check.
Bolsheviks simply weren't in a position to do anything. Luckily, it was around this time that Lenin met an incredibly handsome Georgian with your second favorite historical mustache, Joseph Stalin. Lenin and Stalin met at a communist convention in Finland, and Lenin liked Stalin because he was a real go-getter and was great at fundraising for the Bolsheviks. And by fundraising, I mean kidnapping, robbing, extorting, bribing, ransoming, assassinating, prison breaking, stealing, bank raiding, executioning, and stealing again. Hey Stalin, the Mensheviks aren't so hot in all this stealing, but we still need money. So the next time you do a big heist, just do it quietly. Okay, quietly.
I'm
Got
pretty
it.
sure I said armor or something.
If this isn't quiet,
Dude, what did I
I
say?
don't know what is. Stalin's wacky antics eventually got him exiled to Siberia,
Dan, can
but
you
he'd
only
established
use like
himself
these
as a
mods
big
and
balls
stuff
Bolshevik.
when that
However,
this is
no amount of
activated?
Bolshevik bulls could stop what was happening. The Russian economy
only
was
use these
making a
mods when this
recovery.
is
For the
activated?
Tsar, things were looking
What?
up. This is great.
Crafting?
All Nicholas has to do
No
is
idea.
sit back and not mess anything
Probably
up.
get the
Hey
mods.
everyone, big news.
But
I'd
I
like
have to actually
introduce
put
you
together
my
a
new
pack,
best
and
friend.
this I can just
He's
use
a
the
crazy,
pack.
beardy, horny, scandal-ridden magic wizard man, and he smells like a goat.
What is it?
We're
Oh,
screwed.
Dan, I'm pretty sure it gave you
Rasputin,
like.
a
Dan,
dirt
it
poor
gave you like
peasant from
something.
dirt poor nowhere. But unlike all the other dirt poor peasants, Rasputin had holy healing powers. And when this holy mystic wandered into St. Petersburg, people began to notice. He quickly became famous, and word of this mystery man and his healing hands made its way to the royal palace. The appearance of a holy homeless healer was of great interest to the Tsar and his wife. As far as royals go, they weren't that inbred, but they were just inbred enough for their son Alexei to get hemophilia, or in layman's terms, Mamma mia, that's a lot of blood. Knowing Rasputin could heal people, in 1906, Alexander asked for Rasputin to come and see if he could cure their son. And crazy as it sounds, Rasputin did heal Alexei, possibly by taking him off his doctor-prescribed aspirin. Having seemingly done the impossible, Rasputin became very close to the
Dan,
royal
you must have
family.
done this
But having a
once.
crazy homeless wizard man hanging around wasn't a good look for the Tsar, because Rasputin was freaky. Not only was he a big fan of alcohol, but he'd also throw these crazy parties with Russian
Random
nobility
weapon
where
every
he'd
100 hits.
and all night long, and then he'd his whole head. Not a guy's. And nobody knew how the goat got on the roof. Initially, the press were banned from talking about Rasputin, but eventually, the ban was lifted, and the tabloids went to town. The whole thing was a huge scandal, and everyone was freaked out that this guy was influencing the Tsar and his wife. Nicholas could have spent this period of relative peace improving his image. Instead, he spent it doing but as weird as it
Here's something
so long
new,
as the
new
economy
weapon.
continued to improve and the people's
Wait,
lives
it changed
kept
my
getting better,
weapons?
maybe Nick
No.
would be okay. Maybe
So
there would
that,
be no more
if you got a
revolutions.
diamond sword
Maybe
from that
this
first
video
one, though,
could
you're
get
gonna
or maybe
It did so
things were
much
about to get
damage!
worse.
That was like all my health!
The year is
In
1914.
a quarter
and
of
that
a
means this
second,
time
I have
war,
gone
war,
through so many
Do you have
worlds.
your heads? Do you have your head camera on thingy in the water?
Uh-huh.
You do? Oh, yeah. So you don't have the webcam. Yeah, Dan, look at all your new crafting recipes.
No, it just carries them over.
Oh,
While Nicholas had been busy
Oh,
playing
that's
with
the
his
one
new
I've never
best friend,
gotten. I've
tensions
never
in
got a
Europe
turnip.
had been rising. It just so happened that in 1914, one
that
Archduke
bologna?
Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary went for a drive
Dang,
with the top
see
down
what,
in Sarajevo. One
poppies
thing
give
leads to
you?
another,
This
and
is
suddenly
bologna.
Russia found itself at war with half of Europe. A wave of
Bologna?
patriotism swept
see what
through
poppies
Russia.
give you?
The capital was renamed to Petrograd because St. Petersburg sounded a
what
bit
the
too
poppies
German.
give you?
Even revolutionaries were
No,
getting on board.
they're garbage.
To them, World War I was a big stinky
What the
imperialist war, but they didn't want their big
What
stinky
just
imperialist
exploded?
replaced by a foreign one. So pretty much everyone
walking
wanted Russia
robot
to win.
man?
I hope Russia loses. Jeez, read the room, Lenin. Lenin hoped Russia would lose because that would help him overthrow the Tsar. As long as he did that, who cares if Germany blows up half the country? And blow up half the country, they did. An inefficient Tsarist government meant there were shortages of just about everything you need to fight a war. And if losing a teensy-weensy war with Japan upset the people, losing a giant wide war like this was much worse. Soldiers were deserting, the economy was imploding, and in no time, Russia was starving. The peasants were getting more peasantry, the workers were getting more workery, all the while Germany was getting more Germanery. Dmitri, we need to win this war. I need someone with a great military mind to step in and take control. You're right. How about General Hickenlooper? How about me? You can't run the war. You'll be in charge of the country while you're gone. Obviously, my German wife and a homeless wizard.
BBQ
Duh.
sauce.
Nicholas declared himself
Cold
commander-in-chief
nuggets.
and went to the front lines, leaving his German wife in charge while they were fighting the Germans. It wasn't a good look. And because Alexander was so close to Rasputin, people believed that he was actually calling the shots and secretly destroying Russia, and maybe even boinking her. An even worser look. At this point, a bunch of nobles just couldn't take it anymore. Rasputin is destroying the country.
Oh, you know,
We have
like
to break
arrows
his
and
magic
stuff in
spell
it.
over the Tsar. But how? He's magic. Dude, Very cool. Hey, it's Rasputin. The sexy party is running a little late, but in the meantime, why don't you try one of these totally not poisoned cakes?
Dude, why'd you say it like that? He's totally gonna know they're poisoned now.
Shut up! I said they're not poisoned.
Yeah, like I said, those are for arrows.
Dude,
I'm pretty sure these
just
can be
needs some
magazines
poison.
for a
How is
gun.
he still alive?
It must be the magic.
You
Go
can
and
see my
find me.
XP go.
Is he
that
dead?
advanced ammo?
Yeah, it's for some pretty good long range.
Oh, I'm pretty sure if you
Didn't
make
believe
a
him. Can
boat,
you shut up
you
for
can
1
fly.
minute and help me roll him up? Are you sure he's dead? I don't
I
know,
remember
but I'm supposed to be
watching-
hosting a charity auction right now.
That looks like a bot, not Bologna.
Bologna.
Bologna, yeah.
Bologna.
Okay, now
Bologna.
he's dead. The
They
murder
do
of
the
Rasputin,
recipes
just like his
for
life,
that.
is shrouded in mystery and speculation. He
So
probably
if I'm
didn't really
correct,
die
the
like
boat
that, but he also
becomes a,
probably didn't really heal people. He probably didn't influence the Tsar as much as people thought. He probably wasn't secretly destroying the country. But what he definitely did do, even in his
It
death,
becomes a-
was ruin the Tsar's reputation.
um,
Russia's autocracy was more outdated than ever, and the Russian people were taking notice. Come on, men. Remember what we're fighting for.
The eliminator?
Yeah, these actually help me
Yeah,
if there's mobs
no,
in the
we're
area.
out.
It destroys
World
every
War
mob.
I left Russia broke, hungry, and exhausted. And with Nicholas acting as commander-in-chief, he was getting even more blamed. For the second time, Russia was on the brink of revolution. By 1917, Russia had been fighting a war it
remember
couldn't
last
afford
time
for
you died,
3
you like
years.
that, like,
They were running out of many things, most worryingly, food. On International Women's Day, 1917, thousands of hungry women in Petrograd were so sick of being hungry that they took to the streets. And it turns out it's not just women who experience hunger, but men too. So the next day they joined in as well. Gatherings on the streets were forbidden, but I'm not sure how you'd arrest 250,000 people. The crowds demanded an end to the war, an end to food rationing, and even an end to the Tsar's autocracy. Now normally the troops would deal with this kind of thing, but as it turns out, soldiers get hungry too, and they were also tired of having to kill their fellow Russians so much. So entire regiments mutinied in the capital, and they joined the crowd as well, trashing symbols of the Tsar and his autocratic regime. Things were
so you
escalating
can't
very
make boats in
quickly.
this
Liberal
game.
politicians watching the riots in the streets had long been dissatisfied with the Tsar, since he would shut their parliament down anytime they did something he didn't like. They believed the only way to bring
Danny,
stability back
how
to the
do you make
streets
boats
was
in
for
this game,
Nicholas
then?
II to abdicate. The riots continued. The police fired on soldiers. Soldiers fired on soldiers. The workers re-established the Petrograd Soviet. Politicians began arresting the Tsar's ministers. He may have been an
Water
autocrat,
breathing,
but he
you
just
are.
lost
Lingering
complete
potion
control
of water
his
breathing.
capital city. Talk about
Well, I
embarrassing.
guess you can go in the
Nicholas,
water.
the troops have turned against us. The people have taken over the city. They've even cut my phone line. Hello? Hello?
Dad, do you have
The phones are
Optifine
down.
on?
Things must be bad. I'd better
Is
go
that why
back
the
there.
things are so bad?
Nicholas hopped on the next train.
I haven't
back to Petrograd,
capped at
but he never
120.
made it to the city.
Why?
His
I'm
train
using
was
over
moved
8
by
gigabytes of
the
RAM
and
though.
other politicians.
So your
What's
system
going
might be
on?
able to run it.
Nicholas, look, man.
You'd be running way weaker.
It's not you. It's us.
Like at 40
Oh, who am I kidding? No, it's definitely
lucky.
you. During the whole crisis in Petrograd, the liberals convinced the generals that if Nicholas abdicated, the people would calm
Originally, I
down,
could barely
and the
run it.
generals were on board. They didn't have time to quell the chaos, because don't forget, they were still losing a global, all-encompassing war against the Germans. And with the military no longer on his side, Nicholas had no choice but to step down. Throughout his entire reign, he had done everything he could to keep all the power for himself, and in the end, that's exactly what left him with none. But then there was a big question. Who would replace Nicholas? Well, his son Alexei was next in line. Hey buddy, Daddy
Dang,
couldn't
don't
handle
you
the
water
complex
breathing anyways?
socioeconomic problems of a giant multinational, multi-ethnic empire that's engaged in
Can you
total
not
war with
swim
all of
in
Europe.
this?
You think you could give it a shot?
Is 1.12?
Alexei just wasn't ready to be Tsar. Nicholas did have a brother, but given the state of the empire, he wasn't keen either. And so, 300 years of Romanov rule in Russia just kind of came to an end. The earlier 1905 revolution hadn't changed much, but this new revolution had left Russia without a Tsar. And still, before the year was over, there would be one more revolution left
I'm
to
not gonna
come.
take some bologna.
Nicholas's failure as commander of the armed forces was the final straw that broke the camel's back. You could have done any better? Well, guess what? It's time to find out in Rise of Kingdoms. Rise of Kingdoms is an epic, massive multiplayer, free-to-play, real-time strategy game. Choose from 11 historical civilizations, including Rome,
Danny, you
China,
listen?
or France.
Alright.
You can form alliances
tried
with other
making a
players,
boat
or
yet?
conquer the crap out
Yes,
of it
I've
in
tried
real-time
most things.
strategic
Now shut up.
battles. Oh look, it's Master Tactician and Handsome General, Alexander the Great. If you want my advice, the troop is the most important chess piece in a battle. In Rise of Kingdoms, each troop can be controlled. To win a battle, you need to utilize careful positioning through unique troop formations while using terrain to your advantage. I literally won the Battle of Gaugamela with fewer troops by using superior strategy. You're wrong. Joan of Arc? That's right, noob. Listen up. I'm about to drop some knowledge. The commander's skill is way more important. Each Rise of Kingdoms commander has their own unique skill. Look at me. I've added attack and defense buffs to my troops. Whoa. I'm also able to cure my wounded soldiers. Cool. And I can increase their wood gathering speed by 10%. Not as cool, but okay. In Rise of Kingdoms, the decision is yours. Now go ahead, choose your favorite real historical figure, and lead your troops into real-time battle. Download Rise of Kingdoms now for free by clicking on the link in the description
They
below.
drop nothing. I've
Join
already
me
killed
and
one.
50 million other online players and guide your civilization from a lowly clan into a great empire.
Nerd.
Now where was I? Oh yeah. Hungry woman, absolute chaos, and the end of the Tsar. Oh, hey guys, says here there's been a revolution, and the reign of the Tsars has ended. Oh, come on, I missed another one? Why am I even in this video? Well, it's not like you could have done anything. As long as there's a world war, you can't get back to Russia. Who wants to start a revolution? Dang it! Despite getting rid of Nick, Russia was still at war with half of Europe. The Germans, however, had an idea. They thought that if they helped Lenin get back, he would cause trouble for the new Russian government. So they put him on a train. Destination, Petrograd. It was a long journey, and while Lenin was cooped up in his train, things in Russia
A loaded minigun.
A loaded
soldiers were socking it to their mean old officers.
What
Without
do
a
you
czar, a big old power vacuum had
Speed
opened up,
run?
and someone needed to
Speed
fill
run?
it. The liberals proposed they be in
Cherry
charge,
boat.
and they set up the provisional government. The workers, however,
Danny,
had already
where did you
begun
get that
establishing
loaded
the
minigun
Soviets,
from?
largely controlled by the social revolutionaries and the Mensheviks.
So
And since
you can
neither
turn
felt like they
blueberries
had
into
power as
PB&J sandwich will save me.
classic dual
Peach
power
butter.
conundrum. The two coexisted, with the provisional government becoming the official
Bro, this
government
stuff
and
is
the
so-
elected
what
Soviets
did you
issuing
use that?
orders to the
Dick.
workers and soldiers.
I'm
This
not saying
power
it's a-
balance was
Bro, look
delicate,
at me,
and all it
it
would
looks
take
so
is one bold
tiny.
revolutionary to
There's
come
supposed to be
along and give
multiple
everyone
ones,
a
like
big brain
camouflaging that
beatdown.
in.
Oh boy, Lenin's coming home. I can't wait for him to see all the great things we've accomplished, and I'm gonna show him my family. Look, here he comes now. Shut up! You all suck! The provisional government sucks, the Soviet sucks, even your
Speedrun
fan art
random.
sucks!
People random recipes.
In case you couldn't tell, Lenin wasn't a fan
Dan,
of
what
everything
did you
that
get that from?
in his April theses, he called the
Like the
provisional government
minigun
and the
in the
Soviets
Avenger.
a bunch of big bourgeois bozos.
Oh.
And he kind of had a point. There was still a lot for the Russian people to be mad about. The provisional government hadn't got Russia out of the war, the people were still hungry,
With
and the
the
peasants were still
revolver?
hoping to get more land. Meanwhile,
This
the
doesn't
Soviets hadn't
actually
done much to change things either. But even though they weren't perfect, a lot of people did like what the new government had been doing. There was progress. The secret police were disbanded, the death penalty abolished. They even planned to hold
Marshmallows and
elections,
unknown
meaning for the first time ever, the Russian people could choose
Bro,
their
that
own
gets you, like,
government.
3
To many,
times
Lenin seemed like some
the
out-of-touch weirdo.
Head
If
chop.
Lenin wanted to go from whiny
Very
rebel
useful.
to hunky communist hero, he'd need to shake things up a bit. So
And you
he
got
and the
3 times the
Bolsheviks came up
health
with a fuck you slogan that promised to
Nah,
give
I
the
just
people
I get a
the
slight bit more
provisional
health, but not
government
3
would.
times.
Oh no, like
Peace.
3 times the
Don't like war?
hearts.
We'll end it.
Not 3 times the hearts.
Land. You
Okay,
want
3
land?
extra
We'll give it
hearts,
to
I
you.
mean.
Bread. Hungry. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Lenin
Marshmallows
also
are
gave
actually
all
good.
power to the Soviets, which meant getting rid of the provisional government and
Yeah,
having the Soviets run the place.
not the best
A communist
food, I
dream.
imagine.
Where are
The
you
people liked
getting
these
those
slogans,
from?
and bit by bit,
95%
the Bolsheviks became more popular. Some Mensheviks even
Yeah,
began
that's fine,
switching
my flower
sides.
cannon.
But even though the people thought Lenin's slogans rocked, as long as the provisional government didn't mess up, they'd continue to support it. So let's check in on the provisional government.
That thing
Provisional
shreds.
government.
Did you just shred it?
You've made a big mess.
Did-
The provisional government
Do you not know
lasted for just
what I
9 months,
got?
But those 9 months
minigun.
were chaos.
I should
The
go
people
more
wanted
towards the
Russia
sea.
out
There's
of
gotta be
World War
seaweed
I, But
somewhere.
Minister of War Alexander
Honestly,
Kerensky
though.
thought instead
Like,
of doing
if you
that,
can get
why
that
not do the
one-
exact opposite? If the people saw more Russian victories, they'd have to support
You
the new
always get
government.
these
And that went just about as well as you might
fancy
expect. These heavy defeats
Oh, you
worsened
can't
the
even
Russian
swim
economy and made the
with
hungry
something
people
you can do.
hungrier. And by now, I think you know what comes next. They trashed the place. More looting, more rioting, more violence. It was like the Tsar had never abdicated. Tens of thousands of armed workers took to the streets during some of the worst violence Petrograd had seen yet. And in response, Kerensky called in the troops, who opened fire on the demonstrators. For now, Lenin and other Bolshevik leaders wanted to distance themselves from the violence, but the crowds marched under Bolshevik slogans, and as a result, Kerensky, now the prime minister, took the opportunity to stamp down on the Bolsheviks. Their leaders were arrested. Lenin was accused of being a German agent, and he was forced to flee to Finland in disguise. This sucks! Now I'll never get to have my revolution. Why are you wearing a dress? It's a disguise, idiot! and it makes me feel pretty. Kerensky had successfully dealt with the violence, but he just couldn't catch a break. This increasing support for more extreme forms of socialism, along with the poor handling of the war, alarmed traditional liberals and bougie business boys. To appease them, Kerensky decided to promote a military legend to Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, someone who hated the revolution, loved the death penalty, and was devoutly anti-socialist, General Kornilov. Hey man, thanks for the promotion. That was real swell of you. Of course, with you by my side, who would dare try to overthrow me? How about me? I did not see this coming. Unfortunately for Kerensky, Kornilov hated the liberal and socialist reforms of the new government, particularly the dumb socialist soldiers' committees. The army was no place for undisciplined left-wing snowflakes. Fearing a Bolshevik takeover was imminent, Kornilov ordered his men towards Petrograd to oust the Soviet and take over. Kerensky freaked out, and he needed help. Since he knew Trotsky was looking good at organizing, he and other Bolshevik leaders were released, and they, along with the Soviet, organized the defense of Petrograd. Kornilov had the power of soldiers, but the Soviet had the power of workers. And they did what workers do.
It's a vanilla hardcore survival.
Kornilov's men away.
Probably 100% vanilla.
Yeah, you just have to be good at crafting. If you know how to make a minigun, it's just a very secret recipe.
But in the end, no fighting
Well,
was
you just have to
necessary
like put
because
a
Kornilov's
Glock
coup
9
just fell
in it.
apart. And
Yeah, and
Kornilov
Glock
was
9
sent
brought
straight to
all the
prison.
recipe on
Everything
with
was
stuff.
coming up Kerensky. Hey, thanks for the
You
help.
gotta be good at the
Couldn't have done
game.
You
without
just have to put
Now
nine,
there's no
six
longer any
Glock
threat.
9s right by each other and then strip a big barrel.
Because
off.
what happens is I think they put an update into this since the last time I've seen them, where you can get a mystery
In
item.
order to kill a rat, Kerensky
So what I can do is I can just go chop down a bunch of trees with my
The whole
fist.
affair was a huge propaganda win.
Get it
They
after
had
the
defended
barrels
the
or
revolution. and their
Something
popularity
to
skyrocketed.
gather up a
Found
different
themselves
supply
like
materials
Soviets.
with,
Trotsky
without
and
risking like
Petrograd,
chance
they were
cubes and
now
crap.
in a very powerful position, almost powerful enough for Lenin to return home from Finland and finally
And plus maybe
stage
wait
his
for him to drop
long-awaited
sticks.
communist revolution. The Bolsheviks began planning their takeover of the Russian government.
Stable,
Some got cold
unstable.
feet and began arguing against
They're
Lenin's armed
dropping that before
revolution
that
in
blows
favor
me
of a
up.
more peaceful approach.
Dude,
And they even
get
wrote
a
newspaper
Trump.
articles about it,
There's
which kind of
trombone.
gave the whole scheme away. The Bolsheviks are planning an armed revolution?
Here.
I did not see this coming. Kerensky began arresting Bolsheviks, and as a result, Lenin and the boys felt they had no choice but to commence the revolution
Racist.
right now. Lenin was back in Petrograd, but was still in hiding, so Trotsky got the ball rolling, using his position as Soviet chairman to organize the Bolshevik militias. Now, if you were to ask Soviet
Fresh
artists,
ones.
the revolution went something like this. As much as they would like you to think it was a glorious, violent, heroic takeover, the truth seems to be a little more underwhelming. The Bolsheviks just
Wait,
kind of
wait, is that
walked into
another
key
gun?
buildings in the city and took control. Bolsheviks supporting sailors even brought in a huge battleship, but there wasn't really any fighting. Nobody really tried to stop them. In just one day, they took control of the city. Next, Kerensky just managed to escape before the Bolsheviks surrounded the Winter Palace, placing the provisional government under siege inside. Is it safe to come out yet? I think so. Fear my revolutionary might.
Yeah.
Give me that. That night, Lenin came out of hiding to play a bigger role in the revolution. With him back at the helm, they had one more job to do: storm the Winter Palace and arrest the provisional government. And here comes the final showdown. The palace was defended by a force known as the Battalion of Death, who immediately gave up. And just like that,
Oh, negative
Lenin had
50%
won.
cooldown.
As far as violent, bloody revolutionary uprisings go, this wasn't really
Doesn't mean
one of
like
them.
weapon cooldown.
But
like,
Lenin was
like,
finally in
like,
charge of Russia.
But if you
He had
got
spent his
active,
whole
you
life
have power.
dreaming of this moment. He set up the first Council of
Wait,
People's
what?
Commissars, his own cabinet, with him in charge.
You burned
This was it, his
64,000
chance to
diamonds.
finally
Is it
make his
1,000
communist
stacks?
utopia with equality and freedoms beyond
Then why
compare.
do so
Hey
much?
Lenin,
It's
before we
fun.
took power, they were planning on
Cake.
holding elections. Shall we go ahead with those? Of course.
They see the
Can't have a
general
communist
direction of the
utopia
portal.
without
At least
high levels
I
of
don't think
political
so.
participation. The proletariat should be free to we lost. What? The social revolutionaries won. We lost. Those don't count. Lenin claimed the elections were unfair, and the Constituent Assembly they created was counter-revolutionary. He presented the new
Dang,
assembly with
why-
a motion that
why are
basically
the
said,
banners?
sign
Why
here
just get
and give up
banners?
your
It's
power.
kinda
And when the
dog.
assembly was like, no,
What's up?
Lenin
Yeah,
said,
dude.
see, they're disobeying me. Proof they're counter-revolutionary. Shut it down, boys. Moderate socialists and others weren't happy when Lenin had the assembly closed by force, and when campaigners began taking to the streets, they were fired upon. For
Hopefully
Lenin,
you
setting
have
up a
one
communist
more,
utopia
Danny.
was looking suspiciously like setting up a dictatorship. While he was implementing many of the communist policies you'd expect, he was also refusing to work with other political parties and cracking down on
Justice
opposition.
Hopkins seems
Hey Lenin,
kind of
are you setting up a
broken.
dictatorship?
Yeah, if you
I'll
had a
shoot you if you
minigun
are.
before,
Of course
though.
not. What a crazy theory.
When
Anyway,
you're fighting
I'm
that
pleased to
zombie
announce I'm
war.
setting up a secret police force to repress and kill traitors. And by traitors, I of course mean anyone not loyal to me. Owie, 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 owie. The assassination attempt made on Lenin's life in August 1918. But in response,
Oh, you say nothing, right?
back home, Lenin and the boys were also distracted by another problem. They were
That
still
was like
at war
a
with the
great
Germans,
line.
and they had promised to give the people peace. So Lenin made Trotsky Commissar for Foreign Affairs and sent him off to negotiate a peace deal with the Germans. The Germans offered Trotsky really harsh terms. Yeah, because they were They demanded Russia give up a butt-ton
With my
of
lightning,
something that would be devastating to
lights
the
in a
economy.
row.
I know it's not great, but I think we have to accept
Andy,
it.
how are
Are you
you
insane?
alive?
This will ruin us.
Like
Trotsky,
2 extra
you have a
hearts
big
worth of
brain. What do
health.
you think? How about no war, no peace? What's that, Mr. Trotsky, sir? It's simple.
What?
No war means we'll stop fighting the Germans, but no peace means we won't sign the peace treaty either. Then, when the Germans say we've just stopped fighting, they'll have to leave.
Mobs
us
don't
something.
exist, he
Trotsky,
says.
that's
Moms don't
genius.
exist?
I could kiss
And what
you.
were those guys, huh? Zip?
Oh, you just said.
Kiss you. Stop
Never
asking
mind.
me that.
Then look, he
Trotsky's
said
no
never
war, no peace
mind.
plan was a huge success. Oh, wait,
Large
just
fan
kidding.
of flask.
Exactly
Why would I want a
as you know.
flask?
When the
Man,
Germans
a
saw the Russians had stopped fighting, they slammed 700,000 troops deep into
Yeah, but
Russia's
why would I want a
resistance.
flask?
Now, the new peace treaty offered by the
Marshmallows
Germans
on a bad
was
food
waiting,
source.
with Russia losing a huge amount of territory,
Where'd you get it from?
population,
Getting food
and
though in this
resources.
game is
The
actually
Bolsheviks had
fairly
no choice but to
important.
accept
Seaweed.
that Russia
Especially... No, I got the minigun from Seaweed.
Lenin moved the capital to
You get
Moscow.
like 12 more miniguns. You
Things
can
really
get for the rest of the
weren't
game.
You didn't just have...
Many people were
I'm
extremely
pretty sure that would
Why
just
did you
turn...
turn
Yeah, I'm gonna say that would just turn into something
Lenin, you
else.
pissed off so many people that they united
Yours
against you.
just turned
We're under
red.
attack.
Apple.
We always expected some counter-revolutionary pushback. I think we can handle a few angry monopolies. But Lenin, it's not just a monopoly. Okay, who are we up against? Well, the liberals, the social
shoes.
revolutionaries, national separatists in Poland, Finland, and Ukraine, independent warlords setting up chieftains, anarchist rebels, the Greek
Hey,
peasant
how
armies,
OG
the
of a
Cossacks, the
Minecraft
Caucasian
player are
states,
you?
the
When
Baltic
you start
states, the
playing?
British, the
Danny,
French,
don't be like Boza. Don't be like Boza. You're not Boza. Danny, you
What? How could this get
monster.
any worse?
Can we just say like that child's arms grew up instantly?
Like what? You just exploded. Like,
Forces had united together to topple Lenin's government, and Russia descended into a
Dinner's done.
full-blown civil war. Now, the Russian Civil War was
Didn't you eat?
extremely intricate and really needed its own video, but essentially, the anti-Bolshevik white movement gained control of vast
I'll be back, gotta go
developed
eat.
areas, while the Bolshevik Reds
Dang, how
controlled
did
the
you do that?
industrial
Like, make it
hardware,
just go
using this to
feedback
their
like that?
advantage, along with
You
the
just
surprising
sent it.
military genius of Trotsky and the
it's-
shocking disorganization of the White Army. The fortified
nice.
Red Army gradually came out on top. It was an absolutely brutal conflict, with both sides committing horrendous atrocities. To maintain order at home, the Bolsheviks began the Red Terror, and the secret police would execute tens of thousands of suspected traitors. No one was safe from the violence, not even Nicholas himself. You've probably been wondering what Nicholas has been up to this whole time. Well, after his abdication, he and his family were placed under house arrest. At first, they were allowed to live in their usual luxury, but after Lenin took over, their conditions worsened. The Bolsheviks were just holding on to Nick until they could work out what to do with him, but the Civil War complicated things. The last thing they wanted was for Nick to be freed by the White Armies, and so, to stop this from happening, Nicholas's Bolshevik guards decided to act. It's not entirely certain whether Lenin ordered it, or if the guards were acting on their own volition. But on July 17th, 1918, with White Armies approaching, they woke Nicholas and his family in the middle of the night and brought them into the basement. There, a drunken squad of Bolsheviks murdered the entire family. Nicholas, the last Tsar, once one of the most powerful men alive, had met a brutal end. But after years of fighting and millions of deaths, Trotsky and his Red Army came out victorious. Wow, that was a close one. Okay, back to creating a communist utopia. How are we doing on that? Well, the Civil War helped create a massive famine and about 5 million people starved to death. There's massive inflation and the ruble is worthless. Hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of railway track have been destroyed. Disease and epidemics have killed 3 million. The population of Moscow and Petrograd has collapsed. Life expectancy has plummeted. Sailors in Kronstadt are rebelling. People are freezing to death in their own apartments and life has been reduced to a constant search for food and shelter. Whoa. Well, this just means I'll have to work twice as hard, day and night, to save the country. Nothing will stop me, short of a couple sudden strokes. Get the doctor. One thing you have to keep in mind is that everything I've been talking about, the Civil War, the assassination attempt, and Lenin's struggle to maintain control at home, were all happening around the same time, and it must have been extremely stressful. Lenin began getting headaches, insomnia, and in 1922, he suffered 2 separate strokes. As the Soviet Union was officially declared under a strict one-party system, Lenin's health continued to decline, and his ability to lead the Communist Party went with it. Everybody assumed Trotsky would succeed him. He was a great speaker, he'd won the Civil War, and he had a dope-ass train. The last person anyone expected to take over was Stalin. Stalin wasn't a great intellectual like Lenin, or a charismatic war hero like Trotsky. He was, as one Menshevik described him, a gray blur. Someone who operated in the background. Someone who you might not even notice. But it was in the background that Stalin would rise to power. Here's how it happened. After the revolution, all the Bolsheviks hoped to get a cool job in the new government. What did you get? Commissar for war. Sweet! What'd you get? Secretary. Stalin was made general secretary for the Communist Party. It wasn't what he wanted, but Stalin quickly realized that even though it wasn't fancy, it was a powerful position. As secretary, he had the power to give people jobs within the party. So he would give jobs to all of his pals, who in turn would give him their support. The more pals he gave jobs, the more power he got. The more power he got, the more pals he got. Lenin may have been having wall-to-wall strokes, but he was still involved in the party, and he was taking notice. He wasn't a fan of Stalin abusing his position, or insulting his wife to her face. Lenin knew he couldn't let Stalin take over, but by this stage, he was just too sick to fight it. Hey man, tell whoever's in charge of giving people jobs not to let that jerk Stalin become the next leader. By the way, who did I put in charge of giving people jobs? That would be Stalin, sir. Blah. Whoa. Deja vu. Lenin's last wish was to not let Stalin take over, but by the time he died, Stalin was too powerful to remove. He had his remaining opponents arrested or killed. Trotsky was banished and fled to Europe. Eventually, he would be assassinated by Soviet spies in 1940. Our dear comrade Lenin has died. We should have a state funeral. No. Let's mummify him and put him on display so people can look at his dead body forever. That's gross. You're gross. Guards, kill him. Lenin had waited so long to take control in Russia, but he never got to see his communist utopia. His short time in charge was spent dealing with the destroyed Russian economy, World War I, and the Civil War. He was cruel and merciless, but he really did seem to believe communism would make Russia a better place. Stalin, on the other hand, would take the Soviet Union down a different path. If you thought Lenin was a tyrant, well, you ain't seen nothing yet, girl. A secret police state, a rapidly militarizing superpower led by a paranoid man who deeply distrusted the West, would see the world come to the brink of nuclear annihilation. That's right, I'm talking about Remember to click the link in the description below to download Rise of Kingdoms for free. Fight alongside allies, conquer other players, and use superior tactics to emerge victorious in a strategic battle royale. Again, click on the link in the description below, and I'll see you there.
Do we have sponsors yet, by the way?
Starting the stream. We don't have sponsors yet, but Mr. Beast is going to be watching, apparently.
I've heard. I'm very excited.
And he's going to be given challenge. I'm waiting for him to be like, all right, Technoblade, no weapon challenge in Sky Wars. And I'll be like, yeah, and then it'll be another 1-by-1 finish. No chance. All right, welcome, guys. Oh, they're already spamming Kahoot. They really want me to play Kahoot. I don't want to.
Why Kahoot? What's so special?
They suggested it on stream once and I tried and it was a disaster and it didn't work at all and everyone was like, oh my god, there's like a 5-second stream delay, I'm divorcing you. And so I'm like, never again. And that's the only reason they want it, is for me to suffer. Now the entire Minecraft Monday stream, they're gonna be like, we don't care if you're in the lead, log out and play Kahoot.
It's like they come home from school, they boot up their favorite Minecraft streamer, they've just finished playing Kahoot at school, and then they go straight to Techno and say, Techno, please host a game of Kahoot for us.
Exactly, man. Dude, it's the revival of Kahoot, man. No one cares about the revival of Minecraft. Let's get some Kahoot up in here.
Hold on, Techno, my dad's calling me. Give me one sec.
Alright.
Hello, Dad. You're live on the air in front of 3,000 people. I'm about to start a tournament. How are you?
Oh, it's a lot more than 3,000.
No, it's alright, I'll call you back afterwards, alright?
Would you like to do an interview?
Alright, bye, Dad. Bye-bye. What'd you say, Ted? Oh, it's more than 3,000. It's 3,000 on my end, so...
I was saying, it's like, yeah, you want to do an interview?
With my dad. Oh. Surely only have nice things to say about my Minecraft skills. I mean, he bought me my first Minecraft. He bought me this Minecraft account I'm playing on now. Good on my dad. I'm just
Imagine if he had like really strong opinions about people in the tournament. Just starts roasting them.
Just like, oh, fucking Carson's playing. Holy shit, dude. What's your opinion on Fitz Pokimane?
I really don't care, but everyone else does, so add Pokimane to the list of people I've killed in Minecraft is a good objective for today.
Wait, have you ever killed me? I don't. Oh yes, you did with a bow last.
I feel
week
like the odds are high.
Yeah. Oh right, Jesus.
I've killed a lot of people. Okay, if you've been in the event for more than a few
orphans.
weeks.
You what was it on Skywars? You were bowing me. You were the one that forced my hand, so I had to run into the middle. And I lost us. Yeah, that was I won't forget.
Wonder if I should like reevaluate my Skywars strategy. The people went to mid. They didn't get a lot of kills, but maybe that's the only place you can get like diamond chest plates. Why is my video output low? YouTube, don't do this to me.
Phil's been giving me quite a bit of advice before we started. Phil's here. Hi Phil, by the way. He's been giving me quite a bit of advice before we started.
All right. Well, Phil went sicko mode when I teamed with him, so if he can just pass down his skills, incredible.
I hope so. I hope so. I wouldn't want to disappoint your fans.
My mic is definitely not muted. I'm literally having a conversation with my teammate chat. Who do you think you're fooling?
Oh, 2 seconds, my dude.
Gotta start the BM early in the chat. Lake B is gonna be participating. Wait, why does UMG Studio 4 have points? That should be a fun twist. The UMG casters just rip off their shirt, join the game, and destroy us all in person. Old dragon, no.
You alright? You alive?
I'm fine. Well, my video output is low apparently because YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain. What do you mean stream complete? Huh? What do you mean offline?
That's what it did to me as well.
That's not a... Huh?
Stream complete. Good job, dude.
What do you mean stream complete? It says I'm streaming. No BS says... Where does this stream going? I'm literally... Stream resumed. What is this? Please. No, YouTube. No. I see it. Stream should be working. Alright, chat. Spam refresh. Refresh to get the stream back. Please, chat. Spam refresh. I don't want to drop 90% of my viewers because they don't know how to refresh. Spam refresh.
YouTube streaming, by the way. Spam refresh.
Some people say it never ended. I don't know what's going on here, man. I saw it working the whole time. It's just YouTube's like, video output low. It's over. The bitrate's so low, we just canceled the stream.
I'm sorry, Techno. I sound like I keep going to the toilet, but I've got to leave you again for 1 second.
Oh, rip. Alright, they're all spamming refresh. I'm pretty sure that means they can hear me. I think that's what it means. Techno, tell Wilbur my name is Milo and that he made me feel remarkably uncomfortable in his series. I don't think I'm going to tell him that, Milo, but you can tell that to me, so... I don't know where I was going with that. I can't maintain a solo conversation, that's why I need teammates. We're getting the BM in early this stream, alright? Technoblade never sees this. That's where you're wrong, Joel. Should have made a safer bet like me mispronouncing your name. Hello.
Hello. Hello. So, where would you put our odds of winning at, Techno?
I can't make like predictions anymore because I thought me and Phil was gonna be like a small, like, you know, an okay chance but no guarantee, and then we win by like 500 points.
Okay.
So I don't know,
well
man.
then...
Maybe like it's a decent chance. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah. I mean, we're missing some pretty like powerful combos. Apart from XQC and Moxie, we're missing some pretty powerful combos today. Yeah. So
like Nestor's with Ninja, Wisp is with Courage. They're getting that clout. Travs is with James Charles. A lot of fun matchups. We got Basti and Papa Latte back. They should be
Were
pretty
they ever
powerful.
good? Oh,
They were
okay.
honestly
Yeah, I was-
decent. No one knows who they are because I think they're German. So, well, I
Mm.
mean, obviously the Germans know who they are, but like when they won, when what was it, Basti and Aqua won, everyone was like, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "No, I got second on the individual board. I'm gonna lose all my viewers. Wait, he
Oh.
doesn't speak English. My viewers are safe."
Oh, you just get robbed of all your views by a German guy the minute. It's just everyone's learning German so they can keep clout
They're
chasing.
that-
They're like,
They're that dedicated to get it better at
Ich bin ein
Minecraft.
Winner! Yeah, I was reading a stat someone put on Twitter that apparently when you play with British people, apart from Jack, you always do really well.
Oh, that's
So-
great. Let's go. Easy victory.
So hopefully,
That's actually the basis of my strategies, British people.
you just get as many
It just
British.
doesn't work without them.
Wait, so what British people have you played with? You played with Jack, you played with Phil.
I think Dan is.
Oh, Dan TDM, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do well with Dan? Because I'm
Honestly,
I'm from the same-
we crushed it, and then he got DDoSed, and then the randoms passed us.
Oh,
It was not a great week.
fair enough. Yeah, okay, I'm from the same area as Dan, so from the same part of England.
You
so,
gained his power.
yeah, I'm just in there. He's not here this week, or probably not again for a while, but
Rip.
I've taken him over. I've taken over his power.
You got this, man. My entire chat's telling me to ask you about Milo. How's Milo
Oh, no.
doing? I saw the video.
Did you? Milo's. I hope Milo's doing well. I don't like to disturb him. I'm just sort of leaving him to swim.
You know, gotta give him his space. Let him,
Yeah,
let him
gotta-
grow up.
Yeah. Oh no! Don't do. It's gonna make me cry.
They grow up so fast. I'd find it hilarious if there were like birds in Minecraft. So you release them, and like 2 seconds later, a hawk swoops down, and
People
just
saying dolphins,
grabs
just like-
him.
People saying a dolphin's just gonna come and eat him.
Just
if I
nom, immediately eaten. Welcome to the real world, Milo.
Bet you wish you had your 1x1 back now, don't you? Wait, am I allowed to
Milo's
swear?
just frantically swimming in fear from some shark right now. Like, I missed the bucket. I want to go back to the bucket.
What's your swearing policy? Am I allowed to?
You can swear. My viewers are all in high school, so they can probably handle it. I mean, some like Christian moms will get mad at you, but you're
That's
just gonna have to fend them off on your own.
I can do that. I can deal with that.
All right, join. Oh wait, you're in game one. All right,
I'm
let's
in,
start
I'm
before
bouncing.
half the teams get in here.
All right. So which way? Okay, Techno, come on. I feel like now I'm teaming with the like famous number one. You need to tell me some strats about this map or something, because I know this map, but
Yeah, I do not know this map at all.
oh.
I don't know the maps in the Hunger Games. I just stab people.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's like a big dragons. There's also the big mushroom.
Yeah, it's the dragon map.
Mm. Yeah,
Oh, I
'cause
think
everyone was saying-
James Charles died in lava over there. That's about the extent of my knowledge.
Oh god. Are you coming to TwitchCon?
No.
Oh, you don't stream on Twitch, do you?
I
know why you
don't
would
stream on Twitch.
Yeah, that's a bit. I completely
I
forgot
was
about.
gonna say, like, why would I? I should go there and get like the sick deals. Have like Twitch executives like, yo, kid, here's $1
Yeah,
million.
If you stream Minecraft Monday on Twitch, honestly, I think there would be like executives out there willing
Honestly,
to
yeah, like you know, if the mixer guys want to send me a business email, how much did you pay Ninja? I'm just saying, I'm open to be a sellout.
I know that guy. I know Ninja. By the way.
Yeah, we team. Here's my viewer numbers. So you know, just come over, pay me like 7. No, let's go for 8 figures. You know, 7 figures is weak sauce. I have absolutely no principles. I will leave all of my viewers on a dime for money. That's just how I operate.
Have you seen chat, by the way? The last 3 messages.
It's incredible. Carson just gets ignored. Rip.
I'm very excited for my song. to be released with Carson.
Oh, you have a song?
Yeah, I'm writing a Minecraft parody for Call Me Carson. It's being released hopefully in a week or two. You can make a music video if you want to.
Oh, sure, man. I'd like a cameo. My beautiful singing
I can't
voice.
imagine being back.
What's it? How does Blitz go again? Techno, can you remind me?
All I remember is the Mega Walls one. 5 minutes have gone by. Your team keeps getting killed. Now you're trapped in fun. It's probably some kid. I got that wrong.
The hell? No, dude. Let's drop out of this and go.
Let's do the entire Minecraft Monday in song. Welcome to Minecraft Monday, the beautiful.
Do we go to the cornucopia?
No, we do not. We're gonna run away.
We go up the hill. There is a grace period. We should. Let's go.
No idea.
Let's
I think there's like.
Don't
at
act
least-
like you don't know.
I don't know the map. I just run in a random direction until I find the chest.
If even I know that. Oh, what a chest. Even I know that there's a grace period. Where are we going? Oh, I don't know. Let's keep running. Oh, here's one.
I got a stone.
I grabbed an egg and a feather. I'm helping.
Alright. We gotta get soup. We need armor. I got an iron sword actually.
Oh.
Stab thing.
Got armor. Straight Meldo.
Oh my god,
Oh, nice. Good legs.
I got legs. Alright, we win. It's over. I got this. Make sure no one like sneaks up on me.
Yeah, that's what I'm following Phil's advice to keep you safe.
Tips and tricks to win by Phil. I got a chest plate for you.
Oh, I've got a gold.
It's gold.
Opponent is not someone you can prepare for.
Gold. I'm sad. It didn't help. I'm not contributing.
No, you. Tenno, you're the one.
Let's just log out and play Kahoot, dude.
Do it, man. Dude, after this, we promise to get a hit. No, it's gonna take.
I don't know how. I haven't set it up. Well, let's go get kills, dude. We actually got really good stuff.
What you playing?
Got enough.
I'll take it.
Am I
Do
annoying?
more with that than me.
Am I annoying? Am I annoying? Am I annoying?
Oh, I'm
I'm gonna get someone.
Come here.
Let's go, man.
Come here.
Oh,
Come here or I'm gonna kill you.
Let Moxie get over here. It's Fitz and Pokimane. Get him.
Kill him.
Get him. This one's for you, Carson. Get him. Get him.
am I annoying?
Flank round and flank round on the right.
Am I
You can get them
annoying?
sort of pushing towards
Am
the
I
right.
annoying? I'm gonna get someone.
Right?
Oh, they're dead.
Oh.
The fight's over.
Bloody hell, Techno!
Fight's over. What are you doing?
I was flanking it. I thought it was gonna take a bit longer.
Why would you?
Jesus.
Wait, did they kill Carson's head is over here? Were we too late?
We didn't know.
Fitz eliminated Carson. No, he's having a bad day. This is not a good day for
I'm just in shock about how like. Oh, there you go. I'm just in shock about how bloody. I'm just like wandering around. And you're just like, yeah, they're dead by the way.
You're like, oh, I'm coming in for the fight. Carson's head is over here. Were we too late? Fitz eliminated Carson. No, he's having a bad day. This is not a good day for Carson. I'm just in shock about how like. I'm just in shock about how bloody.
What it really like to be Fortnite YouTuber. That gotta be good. Okay, that could be good. Oh my god, I'm so busy. Oh, hello. Oh, you want pets? Oh my god, Smoothie. Come on now, dog. I don't even know if I'm like properly in frame, but what Moose likes to do is he likes to bring me this toy and then meow as loud as he can because he wants pets. And then he'll come and just flop on the floor for pets, but I think he's done now. He's a little camera shy. After getting epically satisfied with that amazing montage, let's finally get into the commentary and I'll show you how my channel works and the stuff behind the scenes. So first off, we got my camera rig, which is a future project I have not yet revealed. Now we're moving on to the epic Whataburger cup that stays on my desk at all times. It's still there, the Whataburger bag, where I put my burger and Whataburger related accessories. Here's my, you're not supposed to see that. You're not supposed to see that. Close your eyes. That is beautiful Cole in his drippy outfit. Yeah. And now moving on. Now this is my old PC that I built back in high school. This thing has been carrying me through so many years of content creation. And that is a little art piece that my little sister made for me. Isn't it beautiful? True OGs know what that is. Editing Rifty here, being edited by Lil Ray. Here's some of my favorite comments from last video. Bam, bam, bam. 3 beautiful comments. And now this is my Diva light that I got back from when I was a Overwatch YouTuber. And this is a big, like 8-foot bookshelf that I got from Nebraska Furniture Mart. And this thing weighs like 900 pounds. And then here is my Frankie McDonald action figure, of course, the nut button. And my Rifty is Spiffy 100K subscriber plaque. I missed that channel. Overwatch 2 is coming out soon. Hey. And then, of course, my weapons. Duh. And that is the monitor that I broke. If you didn't know, I broke my monitor and I posted a video about it on my second channel, if you didn't know. That's my penny board. That's how I get around. If I'm not using my Tesla, I whip that thing out. I can get at least 45 miles an hour on that thing down